Hi and welcome to the Diamond Report for Thursday, June 1st, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 10:56 p.m. We're looking at earthquakes globally, magnitude 2.0 and greater, and this is the last 48 hours worth of earthquakes. As you can see, we've got a lot of West Coast United States activity, mostly 2s and 3s, so not a big deal, but there is a lot of movement all the way from northern Alaska, way up there. We've got a 3.8 all the way down the West Coast through California into well into Mexico, and then we've got magnitude 4.3. Actually, USGS is reporting it as a 4.6. San Jose del Cabo, Mexico. And you can see right where that is right there. So that's a pretty good sized earthquake in the Gulf of California there. But not a whole lot else to report as far as larger type earthquakes in the northern hemisphere. Now in South America we do have a magnitude 4.5 in southern Peru, just off the coast right here, this sort of whitish colored ring right here. I'm going to be in this area in just a few days, so I'll be interested to see if I feel any earthquakes, if anything happens really while I'm down there. This is Lake Titicaca. I will be north of there a little ways, near Machu Picchu and at Machu Picchu and some other places in southern Peru. So I'll be interested to see if I experience any earthquakes. It's been a while since I've even felt one because, well, I live in Tennessee now, but I used to live in Los Angeles, and I would feel one every now and then there. Largest one I was ever in was a 4 something, which is not very big, but of course it's large enough to feel. So anyway, I will report back what happens with my Peru experience in the next coming weeks. Now we do also have a swarm going on, 2s and 3s and even some 4s in New Zealand. As you can see, that big stack right there. And then even a magnitude 5.3 south of New Zealand, getting toward Antarctica. And we've got a really deep magnitude 4.5 or so, maybe even 4.3, kind of between Japan and China and North Korea, so right in there somewhere. But that's a deep quake, so anything over 200 kilometers is what I would consider a deep quake. This one's at 507, and that means that we would watch for shallow, larger movement in the coming week or so, 1 to 2 magnitudes larger. So 5.3 would probably be about right if we add on 1 magnitude in an adjacent silent zone in the next 7 days. So we're just going to have to watch for that and see what actually happens. Not a lot of other earthquake information to report really. I did a little bit longer earthquake report last night, so let's go ahead and skip over to the headlines. Emergency: Hillary Clinton declares Infowars enemy of the state. Clinton targets alternative press in attempt to shift the blame for election loss. Well, she is delusional, we know that. Has Kathy Griffin produced a defining moment? By Michael Snyder of The End of the American Dream. Will it cause America to reject the hate-filled ideology of the radical left? Well, I think America has already rejected that for the most part, except for the radical left. They love it, and they really can't get enough of the kind of garbage that Kathy Griffin and others do. And they think it's perfectly fine because their hatred and anger is all pointed toward what they consider to be evil, which would be embodied by Donald Trump. And of course, conservatives, libertarians, Christians, gun owners, you name it. So, in their minds, the ends justifies the means. They could care less what they do to all of us, and they're perfectly fine imprisoning us or killing us if they get their way. LA mayor warns immigration crackdown could spark riots. That's on shtfplan.com. Bloomberg says 55% chance Trump will win re-election. I think that's a little presumptuous and a little bit of putting the cart before the horse, considering we're nowhere near 2020 yet. Poll majority of Americans say media leaks are act of treason. Huma's humiliating U-turn. Hillary hack invites Wiener back home. The campus mob came for me, and you, professor, could be next. Persecuted professor reveals backstory to Evergreen State College mayhem. And it is mayhem. Every bad thing we will avoid by rejecting the Paris Climate Accords. That's on Breitbart. NATO moves thousands of troops in one of year's largest Europe drills. 4,000 troops taking part in war games. That's on RT. Cultural journalist says Sweden doesn't deserve to celebrate its own national day. Well, that's right, because they're so politically correct, they'd be too afraid to recognize it. Video, even Hillary's PR person says she's drawing a conspiracy theory over Russia and Trump. She doesn't have the evidence, they say. Hillary says, I lost the election because of Infowars and WikiLeaks. Exclusive Bilderberg schemes to overthrow Trump. Elitists begin effort to reverse America First revolution and Brexit. Patriotic Russians may have staged cyber attacks on own initiative, according to Putin. Said the Russian state had never been involved in such hacking. Alex Jones did not have a seizure and flop around on the floor. Don't listen to what the mainstream media tells you. I'm sure that comes as bad news to all the Alex Jones haters out there. Sorry about that. He didn't actually have a seizure. Russian strikes take out 80 ISIS fighters, dozens of vehicles, on march from Raqqa to Palmyra. Megyn Kelly to interview Alex Jones next week. Kelly will be coming to the Infowars studio for an exclusive interview. Well, that'll be interesting, won't it? Why is Bill DeBlasio promoting a terrorist? New York City mayor to march with a terrorist in Puerto Rican Day parade. Yeah, I've mentioned that several times. Mad Maxine. Maxine Waters, the movie. In her own words, Waters proves why she is an enemy of America. Yes, and I hope she gets expelled from Congress, or at least voted out of office, the very least. Roger Stone says Soros mole infiltrates Trump White House. Find out who the globalists were able to sneak into Trump's inner circle. James Comey to testify before Senate Intelligence Committee on 8th of June. Klexit, Trump versus world government and crony billionaires. In order to save America's economy, Trump will have to make dangerous enemies. Seems to me like he's already made dangerous enemies. Facts, Mayor de Blasio staffs pedophiles, associates with terrorists. The career of New York City Mayor de Blasio is quickly deteriorating. If you ask me, I don't think it was ever that good. Farage says, attempt to drag me into Russia witch hunt is fake news. Social justice warriors pressured James Madison High School to drop the name. Purge of founding fathers continues. Will it ever end? No, probably not. Alex Jones calls out washed-up actor Mickey Rourke. Hollywood stars attacking Trump are complete hypocrites. Yeah, but that won't stop them, because they know they can keep giving each other jobs. Arrogant globalist lectures Trump, says he controls American policy. New House of Cards features mock human sacrifice at Bohemian Grove-like retreat. Cremation of care ritual depicted in popular fictional political series. That's by Adon Salazar. Watch as Trump announces withdrawal from Paris climate deal. Michael Moore teams up with commie rockers in anti-Trump music video. Supergroup Prophets of Rage released music video titled Un-F the World. Well, they're not going to un-F the world if they've got Michael Moore in their video. Trump pulls out of climate accord. I was elected to represent citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris. Enemy of the children, Hillary Clinton attacks Infowars. Hillary and the globalists are enemies of humanity. Yes, they are. U.S. carrier strike groups join Japanese near North Korea's coast. The largest display yet of naval power against Pyongyang's missile and nuclear weapons programs. New bill would eliminate ATF's ability to ban ammo through reclassification. That's on Free Beacon. Feds spend $287,308 on climate change communication interns. Interns make videos on composting and recycling. That's on the Free Beacon. I think most people already know how to do composting if they're interested, and certainly most people know about recycling. Why are they spending money making videos on it? Globalist cucks triggered after Trump puts America before Paris Agreement. Liberals descend into climate change meltdown following Trump's speech. Yes, and I keep coming back to this. No one talks about climate change and also mentions geoengineering. You can't talk about climate change and have a legitimate discussion about it without talking about the ongoing global climate engineering programs. For more information, go to geoengineeringwatch.org. Infowars invades Bilderberg 2017. Once again, the world elite gather to plot how they can retain power and also how to get rid of Trump. Miami-Dade police want to record entire county from the sky using Iraq war technology. Invasive technology developed by U.S. Air Force to help soldiers fight in the Middle East. From John Rappaport, historic, Trump rejects Paris Climate Treaty. CO2 is not the enemy. Well, that's true on the surface. However, too much CO2 certainly is the enemy, and that's the concern. And everybody seems to miss that. Too much CO2 is a bad thing. CO2 in general is not a bad thing. So it's both. Prominent anti-Trump group has received more than $20 million in government grants. Make the Road New York is closely involved in a number of anti-Trump campaigns. That one's on the Free Beacon. Taxpayer dollars up, non-abortion services down at Planned Parenthood. Taxpayers gave nation's largest abortion provider $554 million in 2015-16. Infowars Nightly News, Trump wrecks Bilderberg plans, elites meet to bring him down. President withdraws from Paris Climate Agreement as globalists panic at elite gathering. A list of 100 things that liberals hate about America. That's from Michael Snyder of the Economic Collapse blog. Obama-era official subpoenaed by House Intel Committee in Trump unmasking probe. That one's on Zero Hedge. I was the victim. Hillary blames DNC, New York Times, 1,000 Russian agents, Comey, and WikiLeaks for her loss. Oh, it's so sad. All connected to Seth Rich investigation visited the White House days before the murder. That's by Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show. As is this story, the deep state plans to assassinate the president of the Philippines and why you should care. I keep talking about Duterte. I don't think he's a bad guy at all. And you know for sure he has the government seal of approval if our government is going after him. If the CIA is going after Duterte, I'm telling you, he's a good guy. Steve Quayle, triumph of evil, deep states, FEMA camps, beheadings, Christian persecution. That's with Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show. Steve's one of my favorites. Definitely check that interview out. Why a Judiciary Committee member said, I'd be surprised if Comey testifies that Trump pressured him. Snubbed, furious Juncker vows Brussels will block trade deals between U.S. and EU states. Australian dollar falls after China sees manufacturing industry shrink. That's on the Express. Dysfunctional EU has plunged into an existential crisis. George Soros warns Brussels. Oh boy, you gotta love those warnings from George Soros, don't you? Europhile billionaire Soros claims Britain may never leave the EU if proper reforms start. Well, one proper reform would be to quit listening to George Soros. U.S. joins Japan for military drills in show of strength against North Korea. The coming nuclear exchange between Pakistan and India. It's on Sputnik News. Yeah, we don't hear much about that in the United States, but yeah. Pakistan and India are not liking each other these days. Phasing NATO out of the Arctic. Russia arming up Northern Fleet with new weapons. That's on Sputnik News. Russia forced to react on U.S. missile shield expansion, including South Korea. Wall can't wait. 36 killed in month-long cartel war near Texas. Rush Limbaugh to Trump on Paris climate deal. If you don't take us out of this, there is no way you can make America great again. It's on Breitbart. Well, I agree with taking us out of the Paris climate deal. However, no one's talking about the actual real problems, and that is geoengineering. And of course, Rush Limbaugh will never talk about that, because only, quote, conspiracy kooks would ever talk about that kind of stuff. That's one of the reasons I quit listening to Rush Limbaugh, is because he throws everybody who believes that certain things are happening because there's mountains of evidence proving so. He lumps everyone into conspiracy kooks, but he does do a lot of good things as well. Putin says Obama's deep state goons are running the White House. Damning legislation would give corporations the power to forcibly vaccinate you and collect your DNA records. That's on Natural News. Secretive group of global power brokers, the Bilderberg Group, set to gather in Virginia to mull Trump era, including elder statesman Henry Kissinger and NATO Secretary. Trump won't relocate U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem yet, as he signs order keeping it in Tel Aviv for now. But Sean Spicer says the move will happen eventually. So that's looking at some Bible prophecy right there. They're saying that the move to Jerusalem is not going to happen yet. That's an important event. State Department sued for records about funding George Soros' Open Society Foundation. That's on freedomoutpost.com. NSA won't release Clinton Lynch tarmac tape, claims national security. That's a good one. If you read between the lines on that, that just means that Bill Clinton most likely said some incriminating things that they don't want to let come out. Watch. Cop attacks elderly woman for asking for a warrant, breaking her hip, causing her death. Is anarchy coming to your city? That's on activistpost.com. Children now face fines and arrest if they don't get a permit to mow grass for money. Yes, you heard that right. That's on activistpost.com. Vault 7, CIA's pandemic turns file servers into patient zero. The Paris Climate Accord is genocide against plants, forests, and all life on our planet. It's by Mike Adams of Natural News. Well, again, he claims that CO2 is wonderful and the more the better, but that's just not true. Too much CO2 is a bad thing, Mike. Sorry. France confirms no traces of Russian hackers in Macron campaign cyber attack. How about that? And from ENEnews.com, alarming mass die-off on California beaches. Extremely high number of sick and dead animals, seabirds, sea lions, dolphins affected. Experts say, never seen this many sick birds. How many have to die before somebody cares? Well, here we have it again. The experts never know what's going on. They just can't figure it out. It's that sort of thing with every one of these type of articles, especially the ones from ENE News. The experts can never figure out what's going on. Breaking news, plumes of smoke are seen towering above the Vatican after reports of an explosion at nearby buildings. That's on Daily Mail. I wonder what the Pope's up to now. Anonymous hackers shut down Bilderberg website. McMaster does Bilderberg. That's on Activist Post. An X22 report, this is why the dollar empire is about to fall. Former FBI Director James Comey will testify next week in Senate Intelligence Committee hearing unless the White House blocks him. Man convicted for liking apparently slanderous Facebook comments. That's on Zero Hedge. Al Gore is a genocidal depopulation cultist who won't stop until all humanity is destroyed, warns a new science video. That's on Natural News. Arrogant globalist lectures Trump, says he controls American policy. The Bilderberg 2017 agenda, quote, the Trump administration, a progress report. That's on Zero Hedge. Breaking news, ISIS gunmen storm Manila hotel and casino popular with Western tourists, with explosions heard as armed police rush to the scene. And from Dave Hodges of The Common Sense Show, ET disclosure coming from Bigelow Aerospace. Italy, France, Germany say Paris Accord won't be renegotiated. That one's on Zero Hedge. From WND.com, burglar stole guns off nearby FBI vehicle hours before Seth Rich shooting. Private investigator sues police to determine if crimes are connected. That would be really good to know, and it sounds highly coincidental if those two things happened at the same time. Dark suits rule the U.S. and its puppet presidents, reveals Putin, stating the obvious. Fukushima radiation has contaminated the entire Pacific Ocean, and it's going to get worse. Steve says the great white sharks and other sea life are living in a nuclear cesspool. Still, the denial band plays on. Extinction level event underway. That's on trueactivist.com. Fukushima extinction level event spawning American monster mutations. Fukushima ELE. That's a YouTube video. 11,000 WikiLeaks documents related to Fukushima. Kathy Griffin, CNN employee and deranged Satanist, thinks this is funny. Spirit cooking on mainstream TV. CNN spirit cooking psycho Kathy Griffin beheads President Trump in satanic ritual. Note her wickedness. That's on countdowntozerotime.com. CERN/awake. Creating energy pulses from the sun. That's also a YouTube video. Trump's biggest victories are not being reported, like getting rid of big, expansive, all-controlling government. It's on newstarget.com. Michio Kaku, Fukushima, the end of humanity. U.S. high-ranking officials wanted to evacuate U.S. citizens, but the local officials, including Mar, objected. It would severely undermine the U.S.-Japan alliance. That's on myDailyInformer.com. From the Daily Mail, Trump's armada finally arrives. 2 giant U.S. aircraft carriers in show of force off the coast of North Korea, after President warned Kim Jong-un a month ago that warships were heading for the region when one was actually in the Indian Ocean. These recent events prove the war on Christians and America rages on as the mainstream media shows their true colors, red. Why does the MSM continue to push outright lies while embracing evil? That's on All News Pipeline. Well, that's because they are evil. Charlie Daniels' open letter to Chuck Schumer. You've opened a Pandora's box. Did or did not Hillary Clinton sign off on allowing a Russian agency to purchase a company holding up to 20% of America's uranium production capacity? That's on CNSnews.com. From the Daily Mail, Antarctic ice shelf crack is very close to calving off and creating one of the biggest icebergs ever recorded. The Federalist. In wake of Manchester, it's getting harder to tolerate Petrus Romanus' asserting equivalence between radical Islam and Christianity. That's on Skywatch TV. Yeah, well, that's what the Pope does when he's not busy kissing their feet. Oh, and as I mentioned a little while ago on the earthquake update, month-long earthquake swarm continues at Taupo volcanic zone in New Zealand, with more than 2,339 quakes, 587 since the 25th of May. Now the pain begins. S&P and Moody's cut Illinois to near junk, lowest ever rating for a U.S. state. Steve says, can you embrace the coming chaos when there is no money to pay the civil servants or pensions and total anarchy in the city? From the Daily Mail, what's inside the pit of Mars? Satellites spot strange Swiss cheese area of the red planet next to a giant hole. Well, it sounds like Hollow Earth, or I guess in this case, Hollow Mars. Okay, that's all for today's Diamond Report. Thanks for listening and watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.